Guys, and welcome to another replay of the Eagles Rising tournament. This is a best of two match between Wolf Stradomski playing as Rome and RTK Bobi playing as Sparta. Let's go through the army build, shall we? So, Wolf Stradomski has a nice solid line of Vigile meat shields, as you do, because this is a max 7 melee, so you need to have those nice cheap infantry units there. Then his infantry line consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 veteran legionaries on the flanks and a centre of normal legionary cohorts in the middle. His cavalry contingent consists of 3 units of auxiliary cav, an equite, and a general's bodyguard with 3 auxiliary Balearic slingers as the missiles. 2 auxiliary Balearic slingers and a auxiliary Syrian archer. For Sparta, we have the Perioikoi spears as the meat shields up front with some Spartan youth. So these are the javelin throwing units, so they'll throw some javelins before they retreat and not go into combat. Then he has 4 Royal Spartans, a very heavy component of these guys. These things are absolutely devastating. Then we have 2 Heroes of Sparta, 1 on each flank, which is another very heavy infantry unit. Then he's basically sacrificed all this heavy infantry, but he's sacrificed on his missile component, so he only has Helot archers, so they won't do well against the enemy skirmishers. However, if he can keep them alive and keep them protected, any archer unit will do a lot of damage versus heavily armoured units pretty nicely. And his cavalry contingent is 4 basic citizen cavalry. Both these players are considered some of the best players in the tournament right now, and as we'll see, we'll have more games from them in the future. Bobby BG does host all of his games, apart from this one will be on his YouTube channel, which I will link in the description below, as well as Granato Total War and Legio Italica, who are also casting our battles. Legio Italica has nicely contributed to the prize fund of this tournament. So, we have a small missile fire going on. Wolf of Ichkeria seems to be firing some of his missiles at the Perioikoi spears, as we can see here. See, I don't know why he's keeping his skirmishers like this, but his Perioikois like this. He's moving up his Spartan youths, and he's going for the charge, charging the Vigiles with the Perioikoi spears. Charge gets blocked by the auxiliary cavalry. Square formation is activated a little bit late, but it has been activated. Some pulling through his own units, so that is perfectly acceptable. No rule breaking there. Veteran legionaries moving into a defensive formation on the right flank, and definitely stopping this citizen cavalry, but he's also sacrificing a unit on the front line. Citizen cavalry gets a clean charge, and the legionaries were braced, however, so they should be sufficient. Cavalry charge on the Heroes of Sparta was not a good choice in my opinion. The Equites will take a heavy loss, I think, on that if he's not lucky. And then the veteran legionary is going to lock the unit up. But then I think the hoplites will come out of control on that, even though the unit said that. Spartan youths are engaging the weak Vigiles, and they will eventually win. A lot of infantry pouring on this right flank. Citizen cavalry did lose quite a few men in the engagement, but did manage to get the Perioikoi spears and Royal Spartans into the combat without having to take a charge bonus from the Roman infantry. Middle, not much is happening. Quite a heavy battle going on over here. The veteran legionaries will put up a damn good fight against these guys, but Royal Spartans are plenty of a level match for the Roman. So he's moving his auxiliary cav. Wolf is moving his auxiliary cav on the left flank around, and he's running into the. He's trying to catch this citizen cav from Bobby that's been hitting his very expensive missile troops, who have actually been doing quite a bit of damage to these Spartans and archers in the background. 2 units of archers have been routed from the field, so he's doing a good job there. And he has an auxiliary Syrian being guarded by the auxiliary cavalry here. Citizen cavalry charge the Equite unit, so they're going to be in a bit of trouble. However, he does have a legionary cohort there, but he doesn't want to get them drawn into the combat, so he wants to get a charge on the Heroes of Sparta. Auxiliary cav does get a nice charge on Bobby citizen cavalry. Miss micro there for Bobby. The centre line's been quite different. The majority of the fighting has been on the flanks, not the centre. It's been gathered around this area and this area. This area has been very This is basically a meat shield. However, Bobby does. Wolf of Ichkeria does have a lot of infantry flying around, and there's a small cav fight going over here, which the Equites should actually lose against the Citizen Cavalry. But it looked like the Equites got the charge against the Citizen Cavalry, so we'll see. Another unit of auxiliary cavalry being moved around the Spartans' flank, moving around the Spartans' flank over here. Didn't say the generals. General has Caesar, so he's got Caesar, so that's a nice morale boost and an active, and I believe it's a special ability recharge. Bobby, on the other hand, General, I believe is Bobby's General dead? It can't be. Or he's over here somewhere. I think. Oh, there he is. He has the whipped Second Wind and Battle Rhythm. I would have gone for the raised banner and rallying for the overall infantry because there's no units that require it. Like I said, these, if you can protect these archers, these will do really good against Roman infantries, and they're getting some nice rear hits on these veteran legionaries and this legionary cohort here. So Bobby's general has fared quite meh, because that's because it's been two teams, but these archers should help level the playing field over here. He needs to protect them. He has another Royal Spartan in reserve. However, there's a lot of Roman cavalry on, so he's going to have to leave this unit here to protect his cavalry. Veteran legionaries charging into the Royal Spartan general, trying to get him out of the way, trying to destroy the enemy line. So it's quite a stalemate on the front line here when it comes to the missiles. This Spartan youth is going to think, so he's going to route, so he's going to have a Vigile ready to use in his combat. Syrian archers just shooting these heroes of Sparta. These heroes of Sparta have done okay, but not really as cost effective as you would like them to be for their price. But it looks like it's very even right now, and I think the balance bar is slightly going into the Romans' favour right now. He did manage to get them through, and both of these Helot archers are routing but haven't shattered from the field, so there's always a possibility. It seems to be a pretty heavy rout here on the left side, two archers, and that routing has caused the other two Spartan youths to rout. Look at the Spartan youths are going to lose against the Vigiles and Square due to their braced formation of melee defense, and morale has just beaten them. Roman cavalry going to charge these Perioikoi spears. I think the Equites will come out worse off than that. However, Rome's also breaking another unit of heroes of Sparta over here, so it looks like the Spartans are going to. It looks like Sparta's slightly losing this fight now. They have lost a lot of routed infantry. It looks like Rome will seize the day. However, a lot of these Roman units you see aren't very elite infantry. There's still some missiles in the field, so that's what the Spartans going to be careful of. Sparta has the cavalry advantage, I believe, too, and it has a lot more elite units still on the field. He's activated Loyalty of Defense, which means making this veteran legionary unbreakable. So the good thing is now he can hold these in place now until later on, and they should hold the line now until every last man dies. For the moment, that only lasts for a certain amount of time. He's frantically moving over more depleted legionaries to try and get into the combat there. Spartan youths engaged, stopping them with his Royal Spartan, so no support's going to come here for this Royal Spartan. For this veteran legionary that's going to die down to the last man. Maybe some zoom-ins now. So it looks like the Roman player is actually starting to lose the other end now, as we can see by the balance bar. Rome's struggling. This is because of it's not the lack of units, it's the quality of units right now, and this is where Sparta's really going to take the edge against Rome. Sparta's units are better in a prolonged fight than Rome, because you've got that hoplite wall. Rome doesn't have a shield wall. The Testula would be alright, and he took a lot of fire from these archers here. And even though he killed the archers, those archers still managed to get off at least half their ammunition onto the side of these legionary cohorts and veteran legionaries on the left flank. Bobby's left flank, Wolf of Ichkeria's right flank. There's some Roman cavalry on there, but they need to get involved, and Roman cavalry isn't really the best, especially going against Royal Spartans. There's not really much they can do. Left flank, Bobby seems to be taking control again now. Missile units are out of ammo, apart from this Balearic Slinger, which is trying its best to do some damage. However, it seems that it's going to be GG's very soon of the first game of this best of two, and Bobby will be taking it, I believe, with his Spartans. This was looking very precarious for Sparta at one point, especially losing this quite hefty rout on this side. But his general survived. His general survived. Very cost-effective Royal Spartan here. Another almost full unit, over half unit, very healthy unit of Royal Spartans here. Damaged unit of Royal Spartans there, backed up with another quite healthy unit of Royal Spartans. I'm going to fast forward a little bit because it looks to me like there's going to be a bit of kiting going on with what left these units. However, even if these units used all their ammo, I think what units left on the field are really gonna, you know, and there's not enough cavalry to really damage the Roman players' morale enough to damage the Spartan players' morale. Maybe killing the general might give them a help, but it's just too much. I want to fast forward a bit because it looks like there's going to be at least 2 minutes of kiting, so we'll wait to use up the rest of these. So I'll fast forward. So it's very well played for both opponents. It's a very close game, both very competitive players, which too I'm very going to look forward to keeping in track with throughout this tournament. I believe we're going to see some really nice games. So as the last combat comes in here, Vigilators engaging into the Royal Spartans. Royal Spartans will probably rout from the field, maybe. But with the general coming in, I very much doubt that. I believe the battle ribbons have been moved. This Royal Spartan may just rout, losing decisively, however, with the general involved. Hoplite wall being put and the unit stabilizes only just. Gets another cavalry charge. Because of the chevrons it has and the hoplite wall, that morale's going to be boosted, but it may not be enough. Royal Spartans coming in, another Royal Spartans coming into the fight now, so I reckon this is going to stabilise. Oh, it's going to rout and shatter from the field. But the Roman players are just going to lose too many men, and right now, as we see, balance of power actually has shifted back into Rome's favour right now. However, this is because these missile units have no ammo, so it would look very precarious. Sorry, red player has now got the balance bar. So red was Sparta all along, yellow was Rome all along, as we can see by these banners here. So it turns out that Bobby's, who has been in Rome's favour the entirety of the game, but Bobby's managed to pull this out the bowels of Hades, so to speak, and has come back from this. And pulled off a nice victory over Wolf of Ichkeria, which is who's also a very well-known player within the Russian community. So it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back from this defeat next game. And GG to both players for this game. Very well played. No rule break. Very interesting builds. Rome and Sparta. Two very good factions being used very early on. However, those are two very good players. So I believe it was needed. As we see at the end, overall, Spartan units, those Royal Spartans really did get what they're worth. Heroes of Sparta, they did average. Personally, I don't think this one did as well as it did. Maybe another I think a Royal Spartan would have been better. As he did have that max 5 same, he had the chance to get another one. Would have been better. Maybe some Gorgol skirmishers, maybe a Tarentine even, but a Tarentine against Rome isn't really needed. They're not going to bring any skirmisher cavalry, no cavalry isn't going to be used to do what they said. Turns out there was 2 equites, not 2 auxiliary cavalry. General bodyguard didn't do very well. Equites 75 kills with a chevron, so must have done some good work. Equites 33, not very cost effective. Did okay for this auxiliary cavalry, probably made its money back, and this auxiliary cavalry was very cost effective. Vigilators did very well, held up the Spartan use very well. Legionary cohorts didn't do very well. Some veteran legionaries did very well, others got absolutely smashed, 52 and 84. Periodical spears, not very effective. Spartan use did their job as well. So basically, the meat shields basically. Very good use of the shield there to the square to make them win over the Spartan use, but the Vigilators late game were just not enough to bring it back for Rome. So we'll see the other battle. So we've got Wolf of Ichkeria and Bobby. Let's have a look at what they are playing as in battle number 2. So we have Epirus versus Roma. So Bobby this time is playing as Rome, and Wolf of Ichkeria is playing Epirus. Wolf of Ichkeria is very well known for his Epirus. His Epirus is immaculate, and a lot of people struggle to beat him. So let's have a look at Epirus's build. We have 3 militia hoplites, quite standard meat shield units for Epirus there. We have 3 mercenary Etruscan hoplites. I'll just pause the game for a second. How many Thessalians does he have? 1, 2, 3, 4 Thessalian cavalry. I believe 2 mercenary Samnite warriors, 2 mercenary Italian swords, a royal peltish general, and another mercenary Italian sword. So he's got 3 mercenary Italian swords, 2 mercenary Samnite warriors, and a royal peltish making up his melee infantry corps, with the 3 Etruscan hoplites, with the militia hoplites making up his spear contingent. We have very cheap line of missiles by the look of it. We have 3 units of archers, very cheap. So that's his, with the rise, with the strategist general, with the rise banner, and crack the whip. Rome. Let's have a look at Rome's. Rome's army is slightly different compared to Wolf of Ichkeria. So Bobby has brought the 4 Vigiles, such as Wolf of Ichkeria. However, he has gone for Evocati cohort instead of those veteran legionaries. So we have 5 units of Evocati cohort with a veteran legionary instead of the legionary cohorts. We also have one Socchi Extraordinary cavalry, so we've got quite some heavy shot cav in the mix there. Very heavy shot cav, which is quite surprising considering he's versing Epirus with those Thessalian cavalry, so we'll see how they go. As well as two Socchi Equites, two Socchi Equites, which are very, very good, and we have that Socchi Equite Extraordinary again, with some auxiliary Numidian cavalry on each flank. This is a very interesting unit, and against Epirus, good if they brought an elephant. However, it's going to be very intriguing to see how Bobby uses these very expensive mercenary units on the field. So as we can see, we've got quite a few Samnite Etruscan units merged into both armies here. We have the cavalry of the Etruscan League and the infantry contingent of the Etruscan League fighting out against each other. So it's going to be a very interesting battle. A bit like a Latin Wars battle, so this could be very interesting. Oh, and he has another veteran legionary on this flank, so five Evercotti in the centre, one veteran legionary on each flank, 4 on each flank on the on Bobby's right flank. So the mercenary Numidians are going to try and make their way around the enemy's line. However, he needs to be careful, or they could be caught out by these Thessalians. And this is to make these Numidians very effective. He needs to get some very nice kills on these Thessalians. He can go pretty close to the militia hoplites, no precursor javelins there, so he can go around pretty nicely, removing his archers around. And it seems that Bobby's going to go for a good old Rome blitzkrieg tactic, push up. Try and force Wolf of Ichkeria's micromanagement to slip up a little bit, but also by doing this, Bobby's micromanagement has to be on core. So fake charge there by either side, cavalry being rebacked, so a little bit of the calm before the storm here. Looks like these Vigiles are going to charge straight into these militia hoplites. The militia hoplites should have a field day and win that fight because of the hoplite shield wall, hoplite wall, sorry. So they should do very well against these Vigiles. Some nice use of the auxiliary Numidian cav here. I believe they don't get a javelin volley off, and some archer fire is shot back at these Numidians. In the front, on Bobby's perspective, we have the meat shield line being pumped into the field here. Evercotti cohort getting a charge on the mercenary Etruscan hoplites. Evercotti cohort should happily win that engagement all day long. Hoplite wall being popped in the centre now with the Etruscan hoplites. Evercotti cohort getting a nice clean charge on the Etruscans with the Vigiles holding. On the right flank we have, and this is the exact same going on here, we're against a Samnite warrior. However, some cav movement is being moved around, and there's been a cav fight on the right side. This Thessalian cav seems to be in a bit of distress right now. However, a mercenary Samnite warrior is getting into the mix there. We should clean the time clean. However, the shot cavalry needs to be careful, as there is another unit of veteran legionaries. The right flank seems to be heavy for Bobby. Bobby's right flank seems to be pretty strong, but Epirus's left flank, right flank, it seems to be also strong. So both players have a very strong right flank. It's just be intriguing. These Numidians have free roam behind the battlefield now, so we'll see how that goes. Vigile starting to rout. However, archers are getting some very nice shots off on the back of this auxiliary Numidian cav. None of them died yet. So Vigile is routing, so it looks like Rome has lost the meat shield wall and needs to plug the gap here, or there's going to be a mercenary Etruscan hoplite breaking through here to flank like this. And it also gives the Thessalians a chance to just run right through that line and get into his back lines. Roman cavalry unit here needs to be deployed, I think, around here. To deal. He's just got it lying around doing nothing. Same with this Thessalian. I think he's waiting to get a good time to get through here. Same for this to block him, so we'll be interested to see what happens here. Thessalian cav going into the fight here against his Socchi Equites. Levies used very well being used very well here and doing a good job at hurting these mercenary Etruscans and the Thessalian cav. However, this Socchi Equite is not going to last long against the Etruscan hoplites and needs to get out of there, but it's very involved in the unit, so he's going to struggle and he needs to retreat these levies before it's too late. Rome seems to be struggling in this one. Epirus is very, very strong, played by Wolf of Ichkeria here, which is definitely showed by this. He's not when he brings Epirus. A lot of people underestimate Epirus. Wolf of Ichkeria does not, and we're seeing some excellent gameplay here. Great micromanagement. Italian swords moving into fight with the veteran legionaries and Socchi Equites. The Italian swords aren't doing that good on this flank right now, but with another one thrown in the mix there, we're doing alright. It seems like right flank from Epirus is struggling. Left flank from Epirus now has to combat Rome's heavy left flank movements. has actually moved its troops over and is probably going to try and dominate the one side that Bobby really wanted to win. So Bobby's ended up winning the side that he wasn't intending to win, I believe. Look at how the battle's gone. And however, Epirus's skirmishers have been killed. However, Rome's skirmishers have also been killed. Both sides not bringing a very expensive missile cut, so it's not really a huge war. I think Epirus lost more on the missiles than Rome did. Rome only bringing one squad of levies, that is. I believe it was only one squad, we'll see at the end of the battle. Thessalians used to do some nice cycle charging here. General's bodyguard got caught without being charged, with a bit of a derp charge going on there. To be honest, quite a big blob going on here. And he's going to move the Royal Peltish General out of there, which has killed 74 enemies and has only taken one casualty, so it's a very healthy unit. This unit here is a very dangerous unit for Rome late game, because none of the melee unit that Rome brought to this fight has the potential to take this one out in a 1v1. A very nice javelin volley thrown on a Socci Equity Extraordinare, and the other Socci Extraordinare are going to take a very heavy javelin volley. Great use. 90 kills and 1 death, and against expensive units with a chevron being granted there. Epirus has definitely got this one in the bag, I think. The balance bar is definitely in... According to this, the balance bar is in Rome's favour. However, I think the way it's going right now after this rout on this flank is definitely going to be going in Epirus's favour. Charge by the shock cav into Epirus's Royal Peltis. Royal Peltis are only a heavy melee unit, so they are going to take quite a few casualties from the shock cavalry charge. As we'll see, they instantly took 10 casualties there. So it's not too heavy. If this was a full unit, it would have been a lot more painful. Vigilers going in there, so more Vigilers are being lost. However, there is a decent-ish size Roman core here. Almost a full health strength Evacori, some less depleted maybe a medium 2/3 full Evacori, and a half unit, just under half a unit of Veteran Legionaries. But some Italian swords over here managed to survive. I'm gonna assist later on in the field. It seems that the Roman cavalry is being slowly destroyed here. Roman general is probably going to be going down here, which is not what Bobby needed. The legatus being lost is going to cause these units to suffer some more morale, and especially with the general from the Royal Peltis being there still. He can use that crack for the whip and he can use the crack of the whip ability and then use the whip afterwards to make him better. We'll get some nice close-up combat here by the cavalry here. Some nice melee combat going in here by this Royal Peltish General, covered in blood, doing a good job there, getting a lot of kills, as we can see by the unit core. 143 on expensive cavalry and mediocre infantry and some levies. 143 kills, only I think 16 losses on that unit. Barely it's got its money back almost right now, and there's still quite a few javelins in the mix. This auxiliary Numidian cav, I personally haven't been keeping an eye on what it's been doing. I believe it's mocked up all the archers. This has done a great job, and it still has javelin. It's mocked up all the archers, I believe, with its charging at it, with it charging them. And I think it's got quite a few missiles left in it. Done a very good job. 200 kills for these guys. Bobby's used these exceptionally well, and it's a sort of play from two very highly skilled players. Both of them happily better than me. Could smash me 10 times over with Pergamon if they wanted to. That's how good they are, in my opinion. This Italian sword maybe has been forgotten over here. I believe it is being brought back into the field. So the final clash down of the melee infantry, definitely going in Epirus's favour, in my opinion. As long as those Royal Peltists do well and get a nice clean charge, I think Rome is going to be in a struggle, especially with a decent sized unit of Thessalian cav roaming around. The Numidian camp isn't as much as a threat; it's just being blocked by this Etruscan hoplite, so it's not too bad. Royal Peltis needs to get into a charge animation right now, and a nice clean charge, even intercepting the charge in this veteran unit here, and the Italian swords going in with a small javelin volley as well. Did manage to get the charge on them. Etruscan hoplite in the background. Socci Equity Extraordinare going to get mopped up by these militia hoplites and this Thessalian cavalry. So as we can see, Thessalian cavalry been pretty heavily depleted now. I don't know how they got, probably off the Numidian cavalry javelins. So there is quite a bit of cavalry. However, this Italian coming back, it's just that Royal Peltis, and I said, very good unit, can beat these Roman units pretty effectively. However, the auxiliary Numidian cav is going to be launched into the back of this Royal Peltis, causing it some damage because Even though this is only a light missile cav, it has decent melee stats for melee combat. And obviously they did take some loss, so this Royal Peltis is losing slightly, but it is losing to this Veteran Legionary, and there's a Mercenary Sam Knight still on the field. Thessalian cav on a bit of health, and Etruscan. There's just more Epirus units on the field than there is Roman right now. This Italian sword come back into the mix is also going to help. The general hasn't died yet. The Royal Peltis general hasn't died yet. Rome's general's gone. Morale is at a low for the Romans. They need to kill this general from Epirus, but he's just not dying. Battle rhythm has been used has finally been expired. So there's a little bit of melee attack, melee defense speed, and been decreased now because of that. Now he's in the shield wall, gives him an increase in stuff. Nice clean charge onto the rear of these Roman soldiers. It might just be enough to cause the rout over here. The Evacodi cohort being on fire with the mercenary Etruscans with a little bit of Thessalian support. These units will the Etruscans will probably win that fight, and wavering militia hoplite, but the Rome doesn't have enough. Rome doesn't have enough units left. Very well played. It's not easy to beat a 7 melee Rome with Epirus, especially when you're playing against someone as good as Bobi. And Wolf Ichkeria, who is a great player, has just slapped Bobi back in the face after that early defeat when he got lost as Rome. So both players here getting beat with quite a strong Rome build each. So it's a very, very interesting 2 games. The 2 tied you didn't think were going to win, one on opposite sides of the field. So I'd like to thank both of my opponents here for playing in this game. As we'll see at the end, one Thessalian doing a good job, the rest not doing very well for him. Numidians, one doing really well, the other one didn't do very well. That's going to be costly. Socky Extraordinary, personally I don't think they did the pay worth. Socky Equites didn't do that good. Evacoti, these 2 Evacoti did exceptionally well. Levies, so even if they don't do well, it's not going to cost you that much. Evacoti generally overall doing well, apart from this one here. Veteran Legionaries doing well as well. Vigilators getting absolutely slaughtered by the militia hoplites. Italian swords did average compared to your Italian swords and what they went against Roman infantry. Etruscan hoplites did great. This unit did great here. This one did average, mediocre. Sam Knights didn't do as well as I had thought, but the reason why they won was that general, that Royal Peltis general won him the game. He did so much, and it just helped give Wolf Ichkeria that little edge over Rome. That very elite unit that Rome didn't have played out very well. Maybe if there was some more shock cavalry thrown into that, maybe that would be less of a threat because it's only I think medium or just heavy unit, so it can be hurt very badly by shock cavalry. But it's very well played to both opponents. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for more of the Eagles Rising group stages. Also look at Bobi and Gravity Total War and Legio Italica for more. The results will be posted in the YouTube links will be posted in the comment section below, as well as the bracket link if any of you are interested. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye bye everyone.